want to be very, very clear with where we're going here. So this is not a side picking conversation. This is just a general premise in terms of, do you want your head coach getting involved in essentially planting a flag and making bold statements on highly
Hot button
politicized
issues, let's say.
hot button hot button issues? Now, Harbaugh came out and made some comments on just that, a hot topic right now. That is controversial and very divisive based on where people land around in this country. And typically, like that, there were people who didn't like it at all, and people who definitely agreed with him. But the fact of the matter is, it's everywhere. I've seen it on TMZ. I've seen it on Barstool Sports. I've seen it on ESPN. I've seen Joy Taylor of Fox Sport. Like, everyone has seen this and commented and at least shared the information of Harbaugh's statement. So for me, um, I don't necessarily like it from Jim in particular, because once it's just another huge distraction, and a off season of distractions, that essentially started right away after having a great season last year. You finally beat Ohio State. You win that Big Ten championship. You get to the college football playoff and you fall short. Reality hits you in the face of how far you still have to go to get to the top, but you took a giant step forward. And right after that, the head coach, which is he has the right to do, but decides he wants to test the waters for the NFL. And it was a lot of speculation, a lot of waiting. And we went. It was quite a while. There was about a month where it was just speculation what Harbaugh was doing. What was he waiting for? Why hasn't he signed his extension at Michigan? And it turns out he was definitely interested going to the NFL. He interviewed with the Minnesota Vikings, flew out to Minnesota, in fact. And I believe he flew. Didn't he fly back on National Signing Day or something like that, if I'm not mistaken? I mean,
Yeah.
so it's just a lot of fluff there, and then you get to this, you continue this all season, and the recruiting didn't get off to a very good start, especially based on the season that they had. You thought they would have a lot of momentum, and now this. So it is concerning, because you would have thought that after a year like last year, that Harbaugh would have like a clean, high momentum going to the season where everyone feels pretty good about where Michigan is, and Jim really has like I don't want to say, I guess a good way to say it is like a really good look to him again. Like, wow, maybe he is that great coach potentially. And it's not that whatever statement he made changes that. It's just that it adds extra noise to an already noisy off season.
Yeah, I mean, Dre, we talked about this yesterday when we were talking about, a topic for the show. And it just, to me, the thing that I don't love with Jim Harbaugh, and unfortunately it's a constant, is like you said, noise and distractions. Like the outlier is when he's just kind of business as usual, the way that, some people like their coaches to be. I know some people are fine with outspoken and all that good stuff. But, I've said it plenty of times here on the stream and on the show that, when it comes to 18 to 22-year-old young men, the last thing you want to do is create any distractions, because there's already plenty of them without you needing to create them. There's guys missing class, getting in trouble, just literally everything, fights, all of that stuff. So to me, just to add to it just doesn't seem to be, I just don't see the benefit of it. Like I said, regardless of where you land on the issue, the thing that I go to and think about is, because Jim Harbaugh is the business, the owner, CEO, if you will, of Michigan football, you potentially are going to have at some point a recruit who is looking at your school, or maybe you're recruiting them, whatever the case may be, that recruit and or his family is on a separate side from you, and that could impact the decision whether someone goes to your school or they don't. And when it comes down to, essentially the grouping and recruitment of as much talent as you could possibly get, when you're in that game, the last thing you want to do is have potentially have something that you say, be the result of losing, some talent, like, so that's the thing. And then also too, it just, these things do matter, and it impacts things. So like with the Minnesota Vikings job, like, and I can't remember if it was or who reported it, but essentially one of the like NFL insiders had reported, just something that he had heard was just some potential recruits questioning why Jim Harbaugh would rather coach Kirk Cousins versus JJ McCarthy. Like, so, it's things like that, sometimes it's not the direct thing, but it's the peripheral. So the things that, the indirect impact of some of the things that happen, but it is what it is. I mean, I get it. It's a very difficult spot to be in, regardless of how you feel about it. But that's why these coaches make, $7, $8, $9 million a year coach football, because they have very difficult jobs. So I just, like I said, to me, unfortunately, this is the constant for Jim is distraction. So that's my my thought on it. Mark, what say you?
So aside from the NFL inquiries that really heated up this past offseason, and then there's been some other off seasons where there was a little bit of that, what are Harbaugh's, what are the list of distractions he's provided?
I would say climbing trees, sleepovers, shirts off at these camps, trying to take shots at Nick Saban of, satellite camps. That would be probably just ones that I would just roll off real quick.
So, Dre, I believe the first statement Dre made was, do you want your head coach, who's the face of your program, do you want him, I forget how he stated it, do you want him taking stands on social issues? I'll put it that way.
Yeah, the deliberate,
yes,
essentially planting the flag. I'm not saying you can't make comments, but planting the flag like this is
well, if you make a comment, your comment's either going to be ambiguous or you're going to plant a flag.
yeah, absolutely.
There's no way around it. So we can make this a really quick show, because the answer to your question is no. You don't want your coach. If all you care about is building a successful football program, that's all you care about. Of course you don't, because this issue is what, 50-50, 55-45, whatever. It's close to even. Therefore,
divisive.
It's divisive. So basically, you are anyone who agrees with you, you're probably adding a little equity with them, but it's probably pretty minimal. They're already a Michigan fan, they're a Michigan fan, or if they like college football, but they just like a bunch of teams, you may endear yourself to them a little bit, but you're going to do more damage on the other side. I don't think there's any question, because people get offended easily, and they're passionate about their conviction or their side. So I don't think there's any question. You don't want your coach to take stand on social issues. I just don't want to be having double standards here in regards to people. Fans seem to, at many times, want their coaches not to be robotic. They want to show that they're authentic and they're real people. And he's convicted about this. This is a value he has. Obviously, regardless of where you fall on this issue is more important than football. But he is a football coach, hired to be a football coach. So if he wants to be a political leader, he can go do that as well. So there are different ways to slice it. So I'm not advocating that he should be doing this. He should not be doing this to increase his chances of being more successful in a number of ways in his job. But it's just like anything. If we sat here and named off athletes in particular, more so than coaches, because coaches are older and they are wiser, and they are typically measured. But we could all three of us sit here and go through NBA players, NFL players, and list off guys that have been huge, enormous distractions, just doing dumb things, saying dumb things.
Kyrie Irving.
Was that Kyrie Irving?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, you keep picking guys that I would be on their side. But anyway, he was a distraction. So the point is, when the guy hits 50 bombs, or he scores 25 points a game, or he throws for 4,000 yards, then you overlook it. You weigh the good and the bad, and you're like, well, we got to put up with it. We got to put up with Manny Ramirez being a moron because he can hit 350. But on the other, if he's a 250 hitter, or he threw 20 interceptions last year, or he's grabbing 3 rebounds and 4 points again, you know what? You're not good enough. See ya.
Yeah.
Same stance, same idiocy, whatever it is. It all depends. So is Jim Harbaugh worth the distractions?
The messenger. I think what you're going to get into, Mark, sometimes it's it's not the message, it's the messenger. And I agree. And I brought this up to Des too, because I took a second when I read what he did and I thought about it. I'm like, the way some people will look at this, for one, you're going to have a visceral emotional reaction based on how you feel about what he's addressing in general. And that's going to initially put you on one side or the other, whether you liked it or disliked it, right? And you have to catch yourself, because you are right, Mark, in terms of, especially like in post-game interviews or any kind of interview, we get tired of coaches doing quote unquote coach speak, right? And giving bland answers, and like, can you please give us something? We're going to work hard. We're going to go through and practice. No. Be honest. Be a human being. We want to know the truth. How do you feel about this really tough loss? Don't tell me that and so, and then also there are things bigger than the sport that happens. And over the last couple of years, we've had different social things that have popped up that has gotten a lot of athletes and coaches and organizations involved in making certain type of statements that people have had certain size and reactions to. So I do agree with you on that. I think when it comes to Jim, it's more or less it's the cherry on top of an off season that's just been full of distraction and just not very smooth. And that's kind of the bigger issue that comes to Jim. It's like, man, can we please just like clean this up? Let's just go in a submarine, like you used to say. Go in a submarine. Let's get focused, because there's been a lot of distraction. You really kind of been toying people around the organization with the program, and let's just get focused. Let's get this momentum back going, right? And it was just like, man, another thing. Come on, Jim. Let's try to stay out the news. Let's just try to get focused, But yeah, you're right, Mark. And I think at the end of the day, I think people showing their human side is a good thing. It is absolutely a good thing, and I do believe most people would agree with that in premise.
So if I could cut in with one other thought before Des keeps us going here, the risk you run as well. Let's say, and we'll take this issue without getting into this issue, but everybody understands the issue. That let's say you're on one side of it, but you have a lot of empathy and conditions toward the other side. Let's say you say, well, I can understand it under these circumstances. Nobody's going to, it's not going to be reported like that. That's not what people are going to run with. You leave yourself open to being misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And being misrepresented as well.